2025, are you ready to rock? Dave's Killer Bread is ready to rock 2025 and your reset this January with killer taste, killer nutrition, and a killer sweepstakes to win a VIP concert prize pack with round-trip airfare, luxury hotel stay, and much more. Text RESET to 73876 and enter for a chance to win. Dave's Killer Bread. Bread amplified. No purchase necessary. Visit daveskillerbread.com/reset for details.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. But for those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Hark, 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 dude. Hark, 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 dude.
Radio.
Hark, 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 dude. Hark, 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 dude.
Radio.
Sack. Sack. Sack.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
Into the silo.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
That's very nice of them.
Oh, thank you. Oh, come on, please.
Stop,
Don't
please.
stop.
Yeah.
Don't stop. No, keep
No,
going.
stop. We have to.
No.
Show
Don't
to get
stop.
to.
Don't
Just-
stop. It's worth every moment of my time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you.
No, thank you.
And Sacco, thank
sir.
you. It is so good to be home. It's nice to be back. And we'll talk to you next week, ladies and gentlemen.
Our producer closed the door. What else are we
That's
going
it.
to do?
Segment's over.
Segment's over.
That was the fastest show on April 1st, 2015 ever. Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show. We thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you to the exceptional one, Ken McClinton, for throwing it over. Make sure you listen to Ken every single night here on SHR Media. Such a great show we have lined up for you. It's so that we haven't yet, but by the end of the night,
That's not true. Sacco found a huge spider.
so last week we were off because of the power outage. So this week
Right.
we're in and we're ramped up. We're ready to go. Everyone's excited, going through notes, and all of a sudden, Sacco's going through all the paperwork in the throne over there in the corner, and I hear, nope. And he jumps up out of the chair, and he starts beating the desk with the papers. And apparently, the spider, I'm guessing
While doing almost like a Twinkle Toes style
Yes,
dance with his feet really pitter-patter up and down.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very ballet-like. I think it was like ballet meets thrash metal. I somewhere in there.
Right.
But it was the spider, and I'm guessing it was the size of like Mothra.
Yeah, no,
Or-
based
or
on
Black-
his reaction, I'm pretty
Black
sure
Widow.
it was larger than the spider that I said was the biggest spider I've
Right,
ever
this
seen in my
may have
life.
taken over.
This may have taken over. I didn't see
Have
it.
you ever seen Arachnophobia?
Yes.
It was like Big Bob in Arachnophobia.
Okay.
And it took Sacco at least 2 or 3 rounds to get it down.
Right.
Which
And
he
even
was
then,
able
he
to
couldn't
do.
confirm it.
No, exactly.
Like, it is not a confirmed kill.
It's not, because it could be playing dead.
Right. I don't even think he's seen it. Like that, it could be like a spider ninja. Yeah, he hasn't found it. He hasn't found it. The spider could be above his head, plotting to drop down on him very slowly
Any moment
at
now.
some point during the show. Don't let that bother you, though, Sacco.
Oh, if you're not in the chat room, go to shrmedia.com, click live chat. Make sure you get in and join the conversation. We will keep you up to date if Sacco is taken by a spider over the course of the night.
Right.
We won't help him because it's a spider and that's not our gig.
Well, based upon how that spider disappeared, like, honestly, we might not even know he was gone.
Right.
Right?
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And honestly, I thought it was his hairy arm that was poking up from behind the computer. I didn't realize it was the spider.
He hadn't even gotten here yet.
It was 10 minutes earlier.
We just thought Sacco was here.
Right.
Which explains a lot now, actually.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
makes better sense.
Yeah, no, I was wondering how he was doing all those things at once. with 8 arms. I was like, oh, it looks like Sako has 8 arms tonight.
Right? Hey, did you
8
become that
large,
like
hairy
Indian
arms.
goddess or whatever that thing is? Right?
Sheba.
Sheba.
Mega Sheba.
Right.
And come to find out, the spider was doing a little work before the show for production, too.
I think to set the trap so that he could jump out at Sako at some point. But
Oh,
Sako
he
was too
sprung
quick.
the trap on
Right.
Sako.
But Sako was too quick and was able to defend, hence he is still alive sitting here right now.
Ninja-like skills, Sako. That's
Yeah.
what I like about you. You keep your head on a swivel, and you got to do that.
You improvise, adapt, overcome.
That's why you're a sackhead.
That's why you're a Sako. I bet what happened
Yeah,
is the spider launched the attack,
right.
realized Sako was a fellow hairy beast, was in mid-retreat by the time Sako responded with aggression, right, and was able to get away.
Sako, can you deny or confirm? He confirms.
confirms.
All right.
He
All right,
confirms.
good. I'm
Yeah.
glad we're all on the same page. Oh.
Where's your mic tonight, Sako? Usually you like chime in on something like that.
Well, I use the remote studio during the week, and I use his mic, and I forgot it. So, you know.
You forgot. Wink.
Oh, wink, wink. Oh, it's great. I tell you, a week off makes me miss it. That's the funniest part. Like, not doing a show last week with you guys.
You know what makes me miss it?
What's that?
Like slapping the trigger.
Too hard?
Yeah.
Well, it's all
It always pulls, right?
it's all about sear set, and it's all, if
Yeah.
you overpull, no, that does make you miss.
You
Usually,
ever overpull?
yeah, usually for me, it's low right. Just gotta watch it. That's all. You just gotta be engaged. That's the thing is you just have to think your way through it, and you'll be all right.
Right.
Oh man, do we have a lot to talk about later on? So baseball
Is starting.
is starting up.
Yes.
Enough with the practice. Let's get to the real show.
Yeah. I see how you did that.
Yeah,
The show?
the show.
Like kind of a double entendre right there.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
spring training, some people are going to actually make it to the show.
Yeah, that's why we wrote that bit into the.
So I know. I'm
Okay.
admiring. I'm admiring the.
I was going
the
to say, when we
double
were scripting
entendre.
it out tonight, we wrote that in, and we both agreed that people would get that. I didn't think you needed to explain it afterwards.
Yeah, but then Sako was having the discussion. He said, "I don't think our audience is that bright," and we both disagreed.
Right,
with
I
him.
disagree profusely,
Right,
Sako. How
absolutely. So
dare
do
you?
I. So do I, and I couldn't believe he said such a thing.
He's so mean to our good listeners.
So I was more
Our
explaining
listeners
it
from all over the world who come to SHR Media to be entertained
and educated
and educated. Well, no, because a lot of them
Enterjucated.
are. A lot of them, right. A lot of them are very.
What you're hearing is Hardy Fiber Cement Siding living up to its reputation as the siding that helps resist weather damage, no matter what Mother Nature throws its way. James Hardy knows how important a reputation is, especially when you're a home builder. That's why Hardy products withstand the elements better than wood-based siding, with styles to match their strength. Because when home builders work with us, we deliver our best so they can look their best. Protect your reputation with exterior products by James Hardy. Hardy Fiber Cement Siding is proven to withstand water, pests, and fire better than wood-based siding. And it looks better while doing it. Hardy Siding has been chosen for 10 million homes and counting. See the proof at jameshardy.com.
intelligent. So
edutained.
Edutained. They like to be involved. They like to be involved in the conversation, which is why we have the chat room.
Right.
So we're not educating. We're involving them in our conversation.
We're edutaining them.
We're edutaining them. And
I like that word.
You had to go and call him a
Hang
moron in so many words, Sako.
Hang on, I need to write that down.
Are you edutained yet?
Edu.
Sako, are you edutained? Sako's edutained.
You know what?
What?
We just came up with a new tagline.
Sackheads Radio, come get edutained.
Sackheads Radio, the leader in edutainment.
Edutainment leaders since 2011.
The edutainment leaders of the world.
Confirmed by Guinness Beer.
Right. Global
The guy that sells
edutainment-
Guinness beer.
The global edutainment experts.
Gee,
You like that?
that sounds amazing. We're going to get that put on shirts.
Global edutainment experts. Or if somebody else in the chat room has a better idea for how we could bring the word
Yeah.
edutainment into a tagline,
This is the way to do it.
please feel free to pop
You
in.
can email Sako at shrmedia.com. That's a great place for it to go. He will help us disperse that, and we'll Edutainment. Oh, the exceptional one. He said he has already trademarked that 15 seconds before we said it. Oh, man, we always...
Not true, because we have
Wait a
oral
minute.
proof, recorded proof.
Wait a minute. I want to know something.
What?
He actually made the copyright symbol in the chat room. How do you do that?
You can't do that. We put it out on the air first, and so that's timestamp, and this is timestamp. Or we can just share it.
Well, it could be... okay.
Only with him.
Is this live or is this Memorex? This show is live.
On Memorex.
On Memorex. It's Memorex Live. It's a new
For our
thing.
younger listeners, Memorex was a brand.
You see, we have these things called tapes.
Cassette tapes.
And if you wanted a song, you didn't go to the internet and illegally
The
download
interwebs.
it. Right. You didn't illegally download it off the Napster.
Right.
What you did is you sat by a radio for 14 hours.
And you waited for
You
your
called-
song to come
You
on.
called the radio station 15 times begging them to play it.
Yep.
And then, while you were sitting there comfortably,
Yes.
usually it's while you were coming out of the bathroom.
Yeah, and you hear it start.
You'd hear it start, and the DJ was talking over, so you'd scramble across the room. Your mother would yell at you for running across the table.
Right.
And you push
doing the like the Luke and Bo Duke slide
Yeah,
across the top of the
absolutely,
table.
because that was on the TV at the time.
Right.
And then you would hit the play and record button
At the
together
same time.
At the exact same time. It would actually make a sound, cha-chunk,
Yep.
and the wheels of justice would start turning.
The wheels of awesomeness.
And we would stick it to the man by not paying for that song.
Right. And now you would be able to listen to it recorded from the radio.
Absolutely.
On tape.
On tape.
But you would have the DJ talking in the very beginning while the music.
And
was playing.
you'd only get like 8 seconds of it because
Right.
it was the fade in.
Yeah.
And then you'd put that mixtape with other ones, and you'd do a tape to tape, so you could get a full mixtape for that one special girl that would never talk to you.
Right.
It was paradise, baby.
Right. And you'd sneak into her room and put it like next to her nightstand or something like that. Sneak out. We didn't have webcams that we could put in. We had to put in cassette tapes.
Oh, I
Right.
wonder what they did way back in the day of 8-track.
Because that thing was huge.
That was huge. How do you sneak that into her room?
That's 8 tracks.
8 tracks all at once. Oh, memories of the way we were.
So you were saying baseball,
Yes, sir.
and you're ready. How's Boston looking?
I think we're going to have a good year.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Good year is in
The
World
tire.
Series?
You know
Or
what?
good year is in winning record.
I'm looking late playoffs. It's hard to say World Series because injuries, you never know what's going to come up.
Right.
Any team has two. Cassette tape is copyrighted by the exceptional one as well. It's going to be one of those nights. You have 2 or 3 injuries on a team, serious injuries to the right players, and it could turn an outstanding year into a horrible year. And we went through that before. The A's certainly have been through that a couple times. So I think starting out of the gate, we're strong. We're ready to go. We have a decent rotation. We have a really good squad behind the pitchers. And I think, I think it's going to be late playoffs if everyone stays healthy.
Very good.
I know you guys are pretty excited. You have a couple young
Some
go-getters
Yeah,
ready to
Oakland,
roll.
Oakland has some young talent. I'm excited. I'm excited that they're starting out with a couple key injuries. Jared Parker and
that's-
and AJ Griffin are out on injury, so they'll get them back here in a few months, hopefully. I know they beat the Angels today, 4-1.
Ooh, yeah.
So they've been playing very well. I'm very proud. I'm actually very curious to see what happens with Barry Zito, and he's kind of the side story here going into spring training. He took last year off. But he's been working. He's got some good stuff on his pitches, and
He kind of reestablished himself a couple years to get healthy.
yeah,
Which isn't unheard of. We talked about this before.
Right.
It's not unheard of for a pitcher. Look at Bartolo Colon. And you guys know this more than anyone. I mean, his career was literally done. And he was able to change who he was as a pitcher and climb back. And it's happened a few times. So you never know. He could come back and have a great year. He could come back and have a less than great year. But even if listen, at his age and his time, he's great in the clubhouse.
yeah.
Even if you get middle relief out of him. But having that anchor, somebody you can trust, somebody that, especially when you go to the postseason, someone that's been there and somebody that's able to calm the younger guys and help the rotation through, I think all of that is going to be beneficial if he can stay healthy.
And he had kind of a bad outing yesterday. I think it was his spring training, and he pitched. He was lights out against the Dodgers. 3 perfect innings, but he got shelled yesterday. Gave up 3 home runs, 7 earned runs, all in 4 innings.
Huh? Sacco is going to be down there in a couple weeks
at the Dodgers game.
That'll be fun.
Oh yeah, that'll be a good time. I love baseball.
I do too. That's something that's on my bucket list, and obviously
to go to a baseball
Dodgers.
game?
Well, yeah, once or twice. But Dodger Stadium. But to be able to travel the country and see a game in every stadium, that's on my bucket list before I die. It's something I really want to do.
Serious question.
Yeah,
because some people may think I'm being a smart aleck.
I know,
and I'm not. I'm Clint, and I'm not that smart, right?
No, Alec.
Are you gonna get the little stadiums for each one you go to? Get the little stadium.
Yeah,
and put them up just so you have all the stadiums.
Well,
you've been to?
and I'm torn.
You know what I'm talking
I know
about?
exactly what you're talking about, but I'm torn between that or getting the piece of memorabilia that is specific to that, because every some teams have their specific that one piece of memorabilia that they always sell. That's not necessarily the stadium.
Hardy Fiber Cement Siding is proven to withstand water, pests, and fire better than wood-based siding. And it looks better while doing it. Hardy Siding has been chosen for 10 million homes and counting. See the proof at jameshardy.com.
Zaxby's just out-Phillied the Philly again. The Zaxby's Chicken Philly is back. With garlic aioli, sauteed peppers and onions, decadent melty cheese, and your choice of Zaxby's signature crispy chicken fingers or delicious grilled chicken. But it's only back for a limited time, so enjoy it while you can. No pressure. It's just the greatest sandwich of all time on a ticking clock. Order the Chicken Philly today. Who's got the sauce? Zaxby's.
I haven't decided that yet. I get probably 30 years to work on that, so I'll come up with a list, I'm sure, before I hit the road at some point. Hopefully. If not, I'll wing it. Who cares?
We still need to go to a game, and I think it's next week or the week after. Boston.
Egg has a good. Egg said stadium patches and do a jacket. That's not a bad idea.
Patches?
Yeah, that's not a bad
They
idea.
sell stadium patches?
Yeah, they sure do.
I don't know that I've seen one.
No, you can get them. I think that's not actually.
Where do you get them from? Just like the concessions?
I think
I go to
yeah,
to
no,
Oakland
I think
games
you can.
fairly
I think
often.
you can get them usually at the team store.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a bad idea. I like that one.
See, and I like. Have you been to the Oakland Coliseum yet? Have you been to Oco?
Oh yeah.
See, so we need to when Boston comes to town, we need to go to a game, and it's an old stadium.
It is.
It is the only. It is the only
quirky stadium.
It is the only stadium left in professional sports that is both has a professional football team and a professional baseball team.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is, and it's like everything else. That's one of those stadiums that people either love or they hate.
I love it,
and I've heard it about Fenway too. But I like Oakland's stadium because it is quirky.
It is.
It's got its personality. It's a stadium with personality.
Yeah.
I've been there a bunch of times actually because I lived down in the Bay for a little bit, and the Sox would come to town. And I like it's an old-fashioned baseball stadium,
sports stadium.
Yeah,
really,
I mean, I know it's mixed
No, but I know
use,
what you're saying. Yeah.
It's just the outfield line used to be much stranger. They've rounded it off a little bit more. It has the old troughs in the bathroom. Like it makes you.
I
feel
love
like,
the troughs.
It makes you feel like
and they have the trough or a sink too. So if you've had too much beer, you don't know which
you
one.
don't
is
know
which.
which one's which,
right? Because you're not paying attention to height.
One drips water down, and the other one shoots it down. How are you supposed to know that?
Exactly. Sorry.
Ken says if a cop shoots a black teen at a stadium near Ferguson, I guarantee you will have memorabilia very soon. How do you like that second base bag? Medium rare? If that's on the list, I'll make sure I go. Hopefully, I'll just go to the St. Louis game and everything will be A-okay. Ken. What's up first tonight, my friend?
Was Ken singing that song that he played at the end of his show?
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Because it sounded like him.
I didn't know. It sounded like him. At first, I thought it was Weird Al in Amish Paradise.
Right.
And then I realized that you pointed out that was Ken singing.
It sounded a lot like Ken.
It did. It had that melodic voice and it screams sexy. Fine, I'll say it. All right, I said it screams sexy.
It did. Look, when you started dimming studio lights.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and like lighting the candle.
Oh yeah,
Or was that a cigarette?
it was a candle.
Yeah. Well, either way.
I used that to light the cigarette.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, it's got to be Ken.
Well,
Gotta be Ken singing.
and when I put on my Jovan Musk,
Right.
you had to have known it was coming.
I did.
You were like, "Oh, Ken's going to be singing."
Because usually it's Old Spice that you put on.
Right, exactly. Jovan's the good going out stuff.
Yeah.
And all my chains with my open shirt.
I still say we need to do Beverly Hills Cop.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I love Beverly Hills Cop. I fit the part. Look, I don't even have to do anything now.
You don't.
I've grown the beard. I'm good.
You don't. And I still have that baby face.
You what?
What? I don't
Yeah,
know.
and if you don't give that back, somebody's going to be angry. What's up first in the big list of topics for tonight?
I found this story, and I was angry.
I was angry.
I was.
I was an angry elf.
The United States apparently has signed a memorandum of understanding with Mexico, as well as Ecuador and the Philippines, that is going to establish outreach programs, I'm sure at U.S. taxpayer expense, to teach immigrants from those countries about their rights to engage in labor organizing within
nice.
the United States.
So before they even come here, they will know.
It gets better.
Oh, goody.
It gets better. These MOUs, these memorandums of understanding, do not distinguish between legal or illegal
Well, why should they?
workers.
We're all one country. The whole world is one. Why do we have to distinguish?
Right? So the
And the
National
Socialist Workers Union will rise. I mean,
the National Labor Relations Board, well, it was just Cesar Chavez Day here in California on Tuesday.
yeah, I got in
Right.
trouble.
Why?
Somebody said.
First of
something
all,
about-
why do we have a state holiday for a
communist.
Marxist communist?
Somebody said something about Cesar Chavez, and I thought they asked me where they could get a Caesar salad. Now, in my defense,
Legitimate mistake.
it was a legitimate right. So they said, "Where's the Cesar Chavez?" Is what they actually said. Rally, and I said, "Oh, you could probably get one right over there. Usually they have a lunch special." And it was awkward for a moment. And I said, "Well, if you don't like that store, I'm sure there's other stores around." And it got really, really awkward for a moment. And then I walked away. It's a simple mistake.
So if you walked away and there was no clarifying dialogue, how did you know they in fact asked where the Cesar Chavez rally was?
Well,
Because obviously you're full of crap,
when you see a
and you screwed with them.
no, it was. I didn't see.
No,
I didn't see
He was giggling like a little schoolgirl, right?
I didn't see the Halugaberg flag right away.
Okay. Okay.
And I thought it was like a high school team.
Right, it's only bright red with the big, like, German,
Right.
like,
And most of those guys could have been in high school.
Right.
At my age, it's hard to tell. I'm getting up there. So, yeah, that was a little awkward. But please go on with your story.
No, I like your story so much better.
Ken, I'm not repeating that. This is how I get in trouble.
What did he say?
Oh, this is why I get
What
hit
did the
with
exceptional one say in our chat room that we're not responsible for the content of?
it. You could have said, well, you guys really know how to pick your salads.
Wow.
Because Caesar's a great salad to have.
It is. At least
With
it is.
chicken, some people do anchovies
You can
with
toss it.
Right.
Some people love tossed salad.
Absolutely. All the cheese you want
All
on
the
it.
cheese
The
you
dressing's great.
Yeah, certain chefs love
Yep.
tossing salad.
Yeah, so
is Ken a salad tosser?
I
I don't
don't know.
right? Because he's talking salad.
Some people like it regular, some don't. But
Some don't.
croutons, it's great.
Either
it
way,
really, yep.
right? There's a Parmesan. You could do the fresh,
Parmesan.
right? Not Farmer John.
You could do the
Parmesan.
old fashioned way they did Caesars. They actually beat the egg at the table and mixed it all up right there, and then threw it. So there's a million different ways. Please continue with your story before this goes down a horrendous path.
How could this possibly go wrong?
I don't know.
You know what? Our best stories in life start with that statement made by either one of us.
How could that? Usually it's hold my beer. How could this go
How
wrong?
could this go wrong? Yeah, those are stories for another time. We may have one or two of those stories coming out of Vegas.
Right, absolutely. Talk to us in August.
Matter of fact, I'm betting we do. So I want to know this, and I haven't been able to find it. How much money is going to educate these immigrant workers, legal and illegal, to unionize or to organize, to be part of that organized labor movement?
Way too much.
And how about this? I have an idea, and this could be crazy. Like totally nuts.
I'm going way out on a limb here.
Right, way out on a limb. Why don't we use tax dollars instead of educating them for their right to unionize, which I would even argue isn't a right, but it is under the the act that was signed. Saka, what are you doing? The National Labor Relations Act. So why don't we use that money and educate our workforce on individual liberties?
Well, because
why don't we use that money? Because they're immigrants, they are here working legally or illegally. Why don't we use that money to educate them on principles of natural law?
Well, because the
or
government,
principles of constitutional government.
This government doesn't see that as their job. This government sees
it's their job to teach them how to organize and to waste taxpayer
involve in socialist style
that
organization. Essentially learn how to take a company financially hostage, and force them to pay wages well above what's actually needed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm sure whatever money they're putting into it, we're getting back in taxes that they pay. I love how we live in a country where if a couple kids wear an American flag shirt on Cinco de Mayo, they not only get thrown out of school for it, but even the Supreme Court says, because they were instigating, they were obviously instigating.
Why not just call it 5th of May?
5th of May.
Right.
Made to 5.
Right.
Those kids are considered the instigators and the problems because they were wearing American flag shirts on Cinco de Mayo.
Right.
And they did. The Supreme Court was like, you could have instigated all the Mexican kids that went to that school. Well, sorry.
I think I found a loophole here. I found a loophole. See, the outreach goal, the stated goal of the National Labor Relations Board is this, to educate those who may not be aware of the Act, meaning the National Labor Relations Act, including those employees just entering the workforce, by providing information designed to clearly inform the workers in the United States of America their rights under the Act, and to develop ways of communicating such information, example via print, electronic media, electronic assistance tools, mobile device applications, and links to the NLRB's website from whatever countries it is websites to the workers residing in the United States of America and their employers. So, first of all, their rights under an act. So they're asserting that these rights were given to these workers by Congress or by government, which we know on its face, at its very base, is erroneous, right? Rights don't come from government.
Well, this country,
they're saying that that's right, but they don't.
Administration likes to think it does.
They don't.
The left does.
And for those lefties out there, hey, if a government can give you rights, then that means they can take them away too. And just because
I have to stop you for a second.
Just because you really enjoy what this particular administration is doing, you may not enjoy what the next one does.
Oh, and it doesn't mean it's right either.
And it doesn't mean it's right. Second of all, if we're going to inform the workers of their rights under the Act, why don't we just inform them of their rights, period? And if illegal immigrants have rights under this Act because there is no differentiating, then would they also have the same protections such as Second Amendment protection?
Interesting.
Right?
The answer is no, in my opinion. But where they're going with it, the answer could very well be yes. Instigator in the chat room says, actually, most civic and citizen information required of naturalized citizens have better info, I'm assuming about this topic, than most high school seniors. So if all they do is naturalize and go through the citizenship program and become citizens, they won't need that special program. They will learn all that information, or a vast majority of it. And we also live in a technological age where you could go to any library just about in the country for free and get on the interwebs and look all that information up in a million different languages. The fact that we're going to, and I know we got 2 minutes left in the segment, but I love the fact that we're going to spend money on this the same week the president's talking about cutting the military pay by 20% in their retirement.
Mm-hmm.
If that's not a big indicator of where his heart falls, I don't know what is. Vets, screw you guys. We're cutting 20%. Some military families live on food stamps because they don't make enough money while living on base to survive.
Yeah.
But we're going to make all these programs to teach illegals how to form unions. We're in a place that how about this? Why doesn't the SEIU and all the unions pay for that out of their pocket? I'd have no problem with it. I don't like the unions, but I have no problem if they did that.
Right, but this is federal. This is our tax dollars
not
that are
federal
being used
tax
for this.
dollars. It is a complete waste once again. But let's cut the veterans. That's awesome. Awesome. Well done. How about?
Yeah, good job.
Bravo, Mr. President. Bravo. Absolutely frustrating. Just beyond frustrating. We're just such a bad path right now. We're up against a break.
We're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Mrs. Hillary Clinton.
Cankles
Clinton. Cankles and earlobes.
He's not the best producer in the radio business for nothing, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in 3 here on the Sackheads Radio Show.
I'm Jason Miller. Join us Thursday, April the 2nd, for the UK Prime Minister's debates at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific, right here on SHR Media, where the 7 parties will debate who will be the next Prime Minister. Our coverage starts at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific, right here on SHR Media and Pundit Press Radio. We hope you tune in.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cow for the stupid program.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to The Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And we are back here on the Sackheads Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. We're finally getting the recognition we deserve from an MP3 file, and I cannot say thank you to that file enough. I love the end.
The one guy, right?
The stand up and slow. You.
And what's
It's
funny?
you.
What's funny is when we live recorded that, Ken was the one that kept clapping. Remember? Because
Yes.
he didn't know that it was going to stop. And you said, of course, it figures. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And you were like, Ken, like the exceptional one, because he's that guy.
Right, he's absolutely exceptional.
Yeah, like he's that guy who would be the last one to slowly clap just to be a smart ass. Smart Alec.
Alex.
Smart Alec.
Trebek.
Wow. That is in green.
Oh, that is in green. It's my topic.
Which means it's your topic.
Ladies and gentlemen, prisoner number 131541, Hillary Clinton. No, wait.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
First of all, Dan had probably one of the best April Fool's jokes on Facebook today.
Okay.
So I woke up this morning early. I was up about 5 a.m., which for me is very early. Everyone's quiet. Everyone's asleep. So I'm going to go out back and have
You should have called me.
I didn't even think about it. But either way, I didn't. I'm going to go enjoy my coffee on the back deck. Nice morning, watch the sunrise. Everything's ready to go, right?
Right.
So I open up my phone and I start going through my stories of the day and what we might cover tonight, etc. And I see Dan Butcher's Facebook page, the editor-in-chief of thepunditpress.com, and it says, I wholly endorse Hillary Clinton for President of the United States in 2016. And it's a picture of Hillary. It said Hillary Clinton 2016. I spit my coffee all over my dog.
Right.
Because I'm really 5 a.m. I'm not thinking straight. And I certainly didn't realize it was April Fool's.
Very often.
Right. But I certainly didn't think it was April Fool's. And it took me a few times reading that I thought he got hacked. That was the first thought. I was like, oh, somebody hacked Dan's page. I got to text him and tell him. And then slowly the wheels of justice started turning in my head, and I realized that it was, in fact, April Fool's. So he got me. That, and did you see Governor Jan Brewer's April Fool's Facebook?
I did not. I don't Facebook.
I know, but it was all over the place. I'll tell you what, she's got a good sense of humor, and I think she did one other April Fool's one, but let me see. Give me 2 seconds, and I'll pull it up. But this is another one that I read, and I was like, that one I got a little bit quicker. And her post says, I just got off the phone with President Obama. He wanted me to know first that he finally agreed to visit Arizona's border. Before hanging up, he said, Jan, let me be clear. I will secure the border and protect the citizens of your state. What great news on a day like this. So Hillary, we found out late last week, I think it was Friday night, that Trey Gowdy reported that Hillary wiped her server completely.
Yeah.
And which is kind of weird. Because
well, she didn't wipe it, right? Like with a damp cloth. Like she wasn't dusting the house.
She wiped it almost like Lois Lerner wiped her email server.
No. That was a computer malfunction.
A computer malfunction. I'm sorry.
No, it crashed.
This was intentionally wiped, so the information that was on there could not be recalled and used against her in a court of law, or something.
Right.
Right.
Well, she preserved everything.
Right. Safely somewhere. Maybe off the internet, so it couldn't get hacked, and those files could go missing.
Right. Or she printed everything out, so she has hard copies.
Right.
To be able to provide.
Right.
And then wipe the electronics so they couldn't be tampered with.
Yes, absolutely.
So she could have been preserving the record.
She even said at one point that it was so secure that she had Secret Service agents guarding it.
How? Like literally? like guarding the line that goes into, like they would see somebody hacking in through the electronic little cord thingy. I don't know. I'm not a tech guy, right? Sokka, what's it called? And like step on the cord or pull the cord before the attack could get in there. I don't understand what that means. Did she shrink them like on Tron
and have
put
them
into
inside the computer?
Like inside the computer, right?
How did she get away with even trying to say? Well,
Tron was real, obviously.
Tron was very real,
right? So I'm thinking that's how she did it. Like there was some electronic.
Did she think somebody was going to come in like they were robbing an ATM out of a store and put chains around it and drive out with it?
We solved it. Tron.
It's just I had two Secret Service. How could nobody could hack it? There were two guys standing right there.
Right.
Folks, she's running for president, and this is she thinks she's Bill. She thinks she's Bill, and she's able to be kind of cutesy and get away with stuff. Like, Bill had that ability. Bill had the ability to be smooth and kind of...
he was personable.
Exactly. He was a human being. People liked him, and when he threw out a couple one-liners, it got responses.
Right.
She thinks that she has that ability.
She doesn't.
She does not. And statements like that show you how egotistical she is and how naive she thinks people are.
So what she should do is have Bill Clinton go out and say, we had Secret Service guarding it. You guys seen Tron, right? It's kind of like that.
All of a sudden, everybody would have been like, all the way around.
Yeah, well, they had Secret Service.
They had Secret Service. That was her defense. Of course it was a secure server.
Right.
Oh, you mean you had like firewall protection? Maybe the government installed some of their software to make sure that... Well, the government was involved. Yeah, it's government stuff on it, so I had the Secret Service guys in front of it. Absolute genius.
Toots. Let's call her Toots.
Toots.
Okay, Toots.
All right, Toots.
So Trey Gowdy, Republican out of South Carolina, the representative, chair of the Benghazi committee, he sent a letter to Hillary Clinton's attorney basically requesting that Secretary Clinton relinquish, quote-unquote, the server and turn it over not to Republicans, not to the House, but to a neutral, detached, and independent third party, is how it was worded in the letter. And she has not done that. They said, hey, the State Department Inspector General's office would be appropriate. They could review it, independent party.
Appointed by Obama?
Yep, and he said, look, he wants a third party to look over the contents of the server, which I think, look, I like Trey Gowdy, and we've talked about this before several times. This man is asking for an independent arbiter to look this stuff over. It's not he says, hey, turn it over to this guy, don't turn it over to Newt Gingrich and let's go through it. He's saying, no, I want an independent third party to look this over because I honestly believe Trey Gowdy is looking for the facts.
Right.
I believe that about him.
I
believe him to be a man of principle.
I absolutely do.
I really
as well.
do, and I would love to have a beer with him one day.
He's on my list. He's on my list. People completely off the record. Let's sit and have a beer.
Yeah, but she doesn't seem to want to do it. Now they don't. The committee doesn't have the legal authority, just the committee itself, to subpoena the server.
Right.
However, the entire House does.
As a body.
And I don't know if they're going to be able to do this. So Gowdy requested a response by April 3rd, so by Friday, and that if she doesn't, then he's going to go to Speaker Boner and request that the House go forward taking whatever steps they need to in order to try and force compliance. And obviously the concern is here that personal email was done. However, that personal email address was done to conduct business, a U.S. government business from 2009 to 2013 when she was Secretary of State. And so did she turn all this stuff over? Did she not turn this stuff over? She says she turned over 30,000 work-related emails, but is that everything? I would say probably not. Well, how do we confirm that?
And some of the other questions that were had is her personal assistants outside of the federal government that she hires independently, emails back and forth with her who are involved in her scheduling and some information. Would those be fair game because they are not part of quote-unquote the government circle of emails, they're technically outside.
But she is a public official, so if somebody is scheduling events for her,
yes,
in her role as a public official, I would argue that yes, those are fair game.
But we don't know what's in there because neither one of them was using a .gov email. It was the Hillary Clinton or the ClintonEmail.com.
Correct. And if she wiped her drive, then her server, then you may never know. Look, there are some people. You and I could wipe a drive and it's still there, right? It's still there. Like, I'm wiping it with a piece of Kleenex.
Yeah, I'm like, it's got pledge all over it. I'm like, nobody will find anything on this.
Right. But the Clintons can afford to have some serious people wipe that drive. Or just run a magnet over it. Either way.
I don't know how that happens. Quick question out of the chat room.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw this at you because I'm not sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can the DOJ be forced by the Supreme Court to give up the server? Or to go get the server?
Somebody would have to bring
the charge,
a lawsuit, and it wouldn't go straight to the court, right?
It'd go federal, local
go
first,
to federal, and then
district, and then up.
Right, that would say, hey,
appellate court, etc.
Yeah, and they would say, hey, yes, so and so has the authority, but I don't know unless they sought a court order ordering the seizure of that, then the DOJ would be acting on behalf of whatever agents would be acting on behalf of a court order for seizure, right? Or Clinton would be ordered to turn it over, and if she refused to, then it would be contempt of court. And I don't know what the equivalent is at the federal level, but there's a contempt of court thing. And then that decision could go up to the Supreme Court. But again, it would have to be a court order that they either seize it, almost like a search warrant.
What if, and I know this would never happen.
Not a search warrant, but like similar to that, right, where they have the authority to go in and seize that.
But what if, and this won't happen, but I wish it would, what if the Attorney General, working with the feds maybe, as part of the investigation on Benghazi, subpoenaed her server to find out information regarding specifically to the Benghazi case?
They would have to. They can't subpoena the entire server. They can
go after specifics.
They can go after
if they don't know
documents.
Right.
If they don't know where it is, they can't compel the server. That's where they would have to go in front of the entire House body.
I think they need to go in front of the House.
Well, that's what he said. Trey Gowdy said, "Hey, April 3rd, basically. Otherwise, he's going to go talk to the boner."
Oh, good. So he listens to us.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he's going to go see the big boner if she doesn't comply by the 3rd.
Well, and listen, she's not going to comply. Her lawyers pretty much already said that time and again.
Well, they don't have it. We'd love to comply.
Right.
We don't have it. It's gone. It's wiped. It's gone.
If I was Trey and I was everybody else, I'd turn around and be like, well, let us see if we can get it back. Because obviously we've done wonders with that before. With Lois Lerner, but really, let's just give us a shot at it. If there's nothing on it, if you've already wiped it,
I guarantee there's nothing on it.
Then what harm is it trying to give it over to us?
That thing is destroyed.
Oh,
right?
it's
like,
on
that thing is
fire.
That
Absolutely
thing has gone
on
to like
fire.
the wrecking yard, the
but
big
now,
battery hooked up to it.
If you can get an email
or a magnet.
And I somebody in the chat room said this, and I don't know who it was, so I apologize. It was a few scrolls ago, but if there's any email in there that we have on a .gov side that points to some sort of criminal intent, criminal activity, even if it's not related to Benghazi. Say it was one of her assistants. Hey, just so you know, blah, it doesn't matter why. And they knew that was on the email when it was destroyed. They knew that could be part of it.
She destroyed evidence.
Could you go after her for destruction of evidence?
I think so.
I absolutely think so. Well, the question's going to be,
out of hundreds of thousands of emails, I didn't know that
was
one
in there.
was in there.
Or,
blah, blah, blah.
Even though I pay to have the server maintained, I don't actually possess the server, or some bizarre kind of sidestep on that.
Yeah.
But there's, listen, they got to go through the whole subpoena process, in my opinion. Boner's got to get hard on this right away and make her stand tall.
Right? Like, he hasn't gotten hard on her
is.
in years on anything, right?
He's
been
he
soft
needs to make her stand tall before the man. They're going to sit down. I know Trey wants a shot at her in the committee. Have her sit down again, because as the prosecutor in him comes out, which it does, and if you want to see, I laughed. He was on Mike Gallagher last week.
He's a verbal surgeon.
He was on Mike Gallagher last week, and he's like, well, and he's a very humble guy. And so Mike Gallagher said something about him being a great prosecutor. And he said, hey, I was mediocre at best. However, there's a few things that I've learned. And he goes on this 10-minute diatribe of genius where you're like, really? Mediocre at best, huh?
Right. Never lost a case. Right? Probably should have found Jimmy Hoffa something.
Right, exactly. And he wants the shot to get her because he knows when she was in front of the Senate, she steamrolled them.
Yeah.
And they let her. The whole what difference does it make? Let's sidestep. Let's make a smokescreen out of it. Let's talk about it. Let's turn this into you trying to stand on the grave of dead people. Gowdy's not going to allow that. And he's not going to allow her.
And I think she knows that.
Right. So she's going to avoid that at all costs. And he wants it to be a transcribed essentially her lawyer, and the committee, if I understood correctly. A closed session, but a long session. One of the articles I wrote is that, like an all-day thing, and breaks are pretty much minimal and short enough. The way I read it, they wanted to stage it so it would be short enough so she couldn't leave. She'd have to stay close, or she'd miss the start back.
Yeah.
And Golf had a good point in the chat room. Even though that server is gone, there are a bunch of other servers that communicated with that are not. And servers are kind of weird. They will grab information whether they should or not, and not just emails, but actual technical information as well. Very, very strange stuff.
It is. And,
And if you have nothing to hide, why would you wipe it?
Well, because it needed to be cleaned. Right?
Spring cleaning.
Spring cleaning. It's springtime.
Hey, the server we've never cleaned out? Yeah. Oh,
clean it out. Well, how many emails did we have? Oh, about 60,000. How many did we turn over? Oh, 50%? Yeah, that's good enough.
50%. Can you imagine 50%?
What?
I want 50% of my taxes. I'm going to do 50% of my tax forms and see if the government will take that.
Right.
Oh, I just did 50% of it. Well, it's good enough for the former Secretary of State when she's being demanded essentially by Congress to turn stuff over.
Right. So
that was government property to begin with. I know she didn't sign the form, but when you're doing government work on a government email, or even if it's not, you're doing work on behalf of the government.
How long has she been in and around government?
Oh, I know. She knows.
Or government
she
in and around
knows.
Her, right? Like, she's been around this stuff for a long time. She has been in the game. She's part of the game. She knows. She knew exactly what she was doing. I can't give her a pass on that. May 1st is the deadline for an interview, for her to consent and come into an interview. And Representative Gowdy said that he wants to talk specifically about the deleted emails that were related to the 2012 attacks in Benghazi.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 4 Americans got killed.
It's a serious investigation.
It is. And Trey Gowdy wrote a letter to the attorney, and he said, quote, "The committee believes a transcribed interview would best protect Secretary Clinton's privacy," which I think it would, the security of the information queried, and the public's interest in ensuring this committee has all the information needed to accomplish the task set before it. And I like how Gowdy says, listen, I want information.
Yeah.
And I want all of the information so that we can make an educated decision of what actually happened.
Right. It's about the deaths of these 4 individuals.
Right. And
how it happened.
He's not, I have not heard him or seen any statements from him. And if anybody knows of anything contrary to what I'm saying, please let me know. I have not seen or heard of Trey Gowdy say anything about wanting only the Republicans to do it, or just wanting to nail her to the wall, or anything like that. I mean, everything he has said has been, listen, we want to get the truth. I want to know only about the deleted emails relating to Benghazi. I want the server to go to a third independent party for review so that we can get an independent view of what's relevant and what we should have, or what, if anything, is there. So I like the way he's going about this. He's sharp.
Oh yeah, no, he's
I'll
sharp.
Tell you what,
But
I think he is really
fair
interested.
and sharp.
He's fair. He's really interested in
the actual facts of the
truth.
case.
Yeah.
And I listen. Part of me wonders, and you remember, and she just reposted on Saving Our Future. Remember our good friend Tammy Jackson?
Yeah,
she had the 3 articles, the 47 bodies of Hillary Clinton. I wonder if all of a sudden a couple tech guys might have odd demises in the near future. And you could call me a conspiracy theorist, but you know what? You read that 3-part article, and how 47 people who had close ties to the Clintons involved in certain scandals.
Shady.
Had untimely and bizarre deaths. Either allegations that they cheated with Bill if it was a female, or they're involved in Whitewater, or whatever it was. 47 people the Clintons knew personally had weird and untimely deaths. And I wonder if that number will go up. I really do. Oh, all of a sudden
well, you're talking about a presidential bid.
Well, yeah. And if she hasn't held back before on little things, now that she's running for president, anything's fair game.
And I don't know.
Because this is make or break for her.
So you're saying that it's odd, but you're not accusing them of
No, it's just odd.
It's just odd.
No, I'm not. I have nothing to accuse them for. I don't have any hard evidence.
Right. But it is strange.
That doesn't mean it's not out there. I'm just saying it's very strange.
Right.
Especially, and I always think back to there was the young gal in that article. Out of all the ones in there, the strangest one is the young gal who worked at the Starbucks in Washington, D.C., who alleged she had an affair with Bill Clinton, and a couple weeks later, her and two coworkers were killed execution-style in a quote-unquote robbery, according to the D.C. police, but there was no forced entry, there was no money taken, and the door was locked at the time of the entry from the robber. She had 4 shots to the back of the head, the other ones had single ones. They were made to kneel first. I'm just saying it's bizarre. I'm just saying that's a weird set of circumstances.
It is.
So, you know, this is her last-ditch effort. If she doesn't make it this time, first of all, you have Martin O'Malley, who's probably going to announce this week that he's going to run. By the way, if you haven't seen the video of him with CNN not being able to describe what the biggest threat to the country was, remember what they did with, what was it, Romney, when he could describe what the biggest threat to the country was, and he was correct, and they went insane? You now had Martin O'Malley, who's getting ready to declare himself. It was almost like a Saturday Night Live skit to watch him like twist in the wind and try to figure it out. So you have O'Malley, who's starting to pick up steam, though. As many times as Pocahontas says, I'm not going to run, and she was just on the Today Show a couple days ago saying it repeatedly, I'm not going to run, I'm not going to run, I'm not going to run. She's waiting in the wings. And I think that there are a lot of Dems that want to see Hillary go down. I say this. People on the progressive left who are...
There are. Did you see the report came out, or I saw a blurb, and I haven't seen much on it since, that there's information that possibly the information about the Clinton email came from Valerie Jarrett?
Yes, I saw that. It was up and down.
It
showed up for a few days, and then it went down.
Right.
And we know that Valerie Jarrett has leaked things in the past to the press.
Yes.
To rip apart certain
And we
people.
also know that Obama and Hillary aren't the best of friends.
At all.
Right?
The Clintons, and it's notorious, the Clintons and the Obamas do not like each other. It is no secret. It never has been.
And not only that, but Elizabeth Warren is another name that's been out
Pocahontas.
there. Right, yeah. But she's very left, much like Barack Obama.
Oh, yeah, no, she's super left.
And so I think that that should be her campaign poster. She should have a cape with SL on it. Super left. So I think the Obamas want super left to run.
Super left.
Over Clinton. So it makes sense that somebody from the White House, Valerie Jarrett, could have leaked the story or whatnot. But there are people on the extreme left that do not want Hillary to run because she's too moderate.
Yeah, well, she's too moderate, but she can't be controlled.
For them.
She can't be controlled.
Right.
At the end of the day. Elizabeth Warren doesn't need control because she's so super left, she's going to go down the path they've already laid out. I think O'Malley's kind of a wild card in their eyes, which is why he won't get the support from the Dems. Not that
Unless
he's not a
does something
progressive.
really stupid.
Not unless he's not a progressive left. He is, but he's not as insane, if you will. And then there's Hillary, who you can't stick somebody like Valerie Jarrett next to, and it's going to be like the scene out of X-Men where he's whispering in the ear and Obama says exactly what she tells him to. Hillary will not be controlled. Like her or hate her, she will not be controlled.
Right.
Ag has a good point in the chat room. If Hillary is breathing, she's going to run, and I absolutely agree with that. If she's not convicted of something, she will be running in 2016.
I don't think she won't be convicted of anything by that time.
But and you look at her lead in the
she will, unless she's charged with something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But in there was just a poll that came out, and I forget who did it. It was one of the colleges did it, but it was a big poll that came out that she's starting to lose serious grounds in the swing states, and it was a
Pennsylvania.
No, the name of the poll, but
no, Pennsylvania. She's lost.
She's
lost
lost
control to
Florida.
She's lost control to Jeb Bush and Rand Paul in some of these states.
Yep, Florida as well. Yep. And so this is already starting to. And listen, I think there are a lot of blue dog Democrats, people who aren't super progressive, that are really aggravated with Hillary for all of this. And there's been you never know. You never know what's going to happen between now and election time. She could come out of this unscathed, but you know what? If she does, every single one of these clips are going to be played ad nauseum, and
rightfully so.
And rightfully so. But I think the left views her as a hazard now because of that. If she runs and she gets the nomination, she could be doing more damage to herself than whatever conservatives running against her would be doing. And I think politically, Debbie Wasserman Schultz and all the others over there at the DNC worry about that she may not be electable to the masses.
But if this is her last shot, then she doesn't care.
Well, yeah, no, she doesn't care.
If she's not electable now, she won't be electable later, so she might as well go now.
Right. But like I said, she's going to go, but she may not get the support from the left that she thinks she's going to.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I think this could go a couple different ways. And you know, somebody said it the best, and I absolutely agree with them. The last thing we need is another Bush or Clinton in the White House right now.
Yep.
Egg brought up a good point. If she gets a nomination, it's so serious. I wonder about her health. If the left would try to play it. Listen, I don't put anything past the left anymore. Look at what Reid just came out and admitted this week, that he overtly lied to the people about Romney. Yep. Admitted to it and justified the ends through the means. All that was important was the end game, and it worked. So if you don't think the left would play any card, you're out of your mind. We are up against a break. When we come back, we're going to discuss Iran, the nuclear deal, all the problems with it, all the good in it, which is none, and everything else right here on the SHR Media Network. This is the Sackheads Radio Show, back in 3.
I'm Jason Miller. Join us Thursday, April the 2nd, for the UK Prime Minister's debates at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific, right here on SHR Media, where the 7 parties will debate who will be the next Prime Minister. Our coverage starts at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific, right here on SHR Media and Pundit Press Radio. We hope you tune in.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kaff was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on The Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to The Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And we're back here on the Sackheads Radio Show live from the SHR Media Studios. Oh, the best live audience in radio.
Thank you.
Best recorded live audience in radio. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So
the Iran nuke talks. John Kerry
Let's do it.
absolutely nailed it. This White House, this administration nailed it.
Success, baby.
They wanted a deal. Oh.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, they didn't.
No.
They didn't. Thanks, Ken. So the deadline Tuesday came and went. They extended it another day. Deadline Wednesday came and went. And John Kerry is still there, at least for another day, double overtime. When are we going to leave?
Never. He's in it to win it, baby.
Yet the White House says... Well,
it's like a sit-in.
Yet the White House says, well, we're prepared to walk away. No, you're not. No, you're not. If you are prepared to walk away...
They are, once the deal's done.
Right. Exactly. If you were prepared to walk away, you would have walked away.
Yes.
You're not prepared to walk away. And we look so stinking weak right now as a country.
Oh, horribly.
Because this is our deadline. Oh, it came and went. Okay, well, now tomorrow. It came and went. How about tomorrow?
We don't do good. This administration doesn't do good with hard red lines and lines in the sand and setting stuff.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
If we see one sign of chemical weapon use,
the State
you're
Department
in trouble.
State Department spokesperson said, "Well, we continue to make progress, but we've not reached a political understanding." What? Huh?
I heard a report from the Associated Press today that they can't even agree on what to call the agreement. That's not an exaggeration. They are so far apart, they don't even have a name for the treaty yet.
Why are we there? No, honestly, look, if you want to give some credence and let Iran think that we actually have some testicular fortitude as a country, we need to just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
The sanctions that we had in place before need to be put back into place, and we need harder sanctions until Iran says, oh, okay, hey, now we're willing to talk.
Well, and I want to know why we're even negotiating.
Right? That's my point.
What concessions has Iran made as a country over the last few years to show that it has changed into a responsible member of the world? And listen, whatever they want to do in their closed doors,
like ISIS, maybe they fight ISIS a little bit here and there.
Here and there,
maybe I don't know.
Did you hear 2 Iranians got killed in a drone strike? We killed 2 Iranian soldiers. That was a couple days ago, and who were in Iraq fighting against ISIS. Well, that's weird.
Huh.
But I digress. So, yeah. So we're sitting here at a table who literally the Ayatollah just last week was given a speech, and when the crowd started chanting "Death to America," he said, "Yes, of course, death to America." Like it's an afterthought. Like, well, why do we even have to say that? Everyone knows death to America. Come on, guys.
Why are we even chanting this?
Yes, yes, of course, of course.
That was like a French Ayatollah.
No, it was the French Ayatollah.
That's the.
I was just thinking of Anchorman when they're in the big fight and they're talking about the rules. No hitting in the face, and Ben Stiller, yes, of course, no hitting in the face. That's, yes, death to America. I don't know why that is a question. We're at the table with these guys trying to talk about nukes.
Right.
And they're saying, oh, it's to keep them from getting a nuke. No, it's not. No, it's not. They're going to get it. They're going to get it.
Israel's going to go in.
Absolutely. And you know,
this administration won't back their play.
Earlier in the day, Prime Minister Netanyahu released a statement talking about an Iranian general who just a few days ago, I think yesterday or the day before, said the annihilation of Israel will never be on the table for bargaining. In other words, it's going to happen no matter what.
Right.
And this is an Iranian general. It's not an Iranian private at an outpost.
Right.
This is somebody in the senior leadership of the Iranian military. Then just yesterday, there was an Iranian observation plane that had an air incursion with one of our helicopters in the Persian Gulf. 50 feet, I think it was. It flew in front of this. They knew it was there. Our military said the last couple of weeks that the Iranians have been acting extremely professional in the area, and they actually thought like it was turning around. And then this happened, and that raises a question. If the Iranian government is in full control of their people and their military, then it was ordered from them. If not, then we're talking about giving nuclear power to a country that is not in charge of their own military. Either way,
it's problematic.
It's not really ideal, right?
Right. Understatement of the night. Award goes to Sean.
Thank you very much. I will gladly accept this reward on behalf of morons everywhere.
Wow.
And we're at the table. And the latest, well, maybe this weekend.
Right.
Well, we might get something this weekend.
Well, no, we're prepared to walk away.
What is this, like a used car sale?
Yeah, to what? To the urinal? Like, where are you going? You're not going anywhere.
It's almost like we're picking kids in junior high to play kickball. Well, if you give me Sven and I'll give it, no deal. They're both left-footed kickers. All right, hold on. I got to meet with the team. Yeah. All right, I'll give you Sven, but I take same two guys. You're just reversing it. All right, hold on a second. Really, like you said, and I couldn't agree with you more. You set a deadline. You will meet these concessions. This isn't an option.
Right.
We're not negotiating. We have nothing to gain by you getting nuclear power. If you're true in what you mean for nuclear power, you have everything to gain.
Yes.
We have nothing to lose to say no. We hold all the cards. It's almost like I'm sure he's learned something from his wife about business.
No.
When you hold all the cards, you hold all the cards. You get to dictate how things are going to go. It's a negotiation. Why?
Why?
It should be a mandate. We're going to have a nuclear mandate. If you don't agree to any of this, then we blow up all your facilities. Gone. No questions asked.
Right.
Well, we do not agree to... Oh, was that what was that, F-16?
You don't agree to us blowing up your facilities? Okay. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in like 16 hours. Don't worry, it'll be fine.
No problem at all. Oh, wait. Is that aircraft I hear? Oh, that sounds like B-52s. Weird. Anyhow, what were you saying about no negotiations? Oh, you want to talk now? Oh, okay.
Oh, you don't? Wait, are you getting a phone call? Oh, okay, I'll wait. Oh, what happened? Some stuff
What
just blew
happened?
Up? Right?
The look of concern on our face. Oh,
right. What happened? Are you okay?
That's weird.
Anybody hurt? Really? All of your facilities?
And I know there's...
Oh, just 50% of your facilities. Oh, okay. Well, do you want to keep the other 50%? Let's talk.
And I know, like, there are people out there be like, "Oh, you sound like the '60s mob. Like, hey, if you don't pay us protection money, something could happen to your window."
We pay them,
right? That's yes,
right.
It's almost like Iran has us by the short and curlies, like
the chest hairs.
Yeah, I don't understand why we are even contemplating a negotiation.
Because
what do we gain?
Nothing. We have softened as a country. Our national resolve has softened.
It's horrible.
It is.
It's so horrible.
It is.
I was listening to a clip today about...
And we have, 2 generations now, I would argue, of uneducated people that are now in the workforce that don't understand or know about world affairs.
Any part of this.
Not taught in schools.
Any part of this whatsoever.
Critical thinking skills... Mm-hmm. Current events,
history
and tradition,
true history.
Yeah,
and then more importantly,
we We have lost our national identity,
I agree with you.
much like Rome did before the fall.
And it's, it's frightening.
Mm-hmm.
And as all this goes on, one of the probably most important people that should be in these talks are not.
Oh, the sackheads.
Right. We should be at the table having the conversation.
Could you imagine us sitting down with the Ayatollah?
Hey, what's up, I can call you I, right?
I can call you I. Yeah, for idiot. I mean Ayatollah. Does Ayatollah mean idiot? Because I don't speak your language. I don't speak Camel, so I don't know what that means.
That's a cool thing in your head. Anywho, here's the deal.
What is that, a towel? Yeah, I know chicks that do that.
I'm going to write a number down and slide this over to the table of how much nuclear power you can have without a concession. No, that's a 0 in every language.
Right.
Now, you give up some things like, I don't know, the destruction of Israel. Let's start there. You turn around and say, we respect Israel's right to live, and then walk for a few years, and we will give you one centrifuge.
I have an idea. I like your idea where you started with the 0 on the piece of paper.
Right.
And you slide that over there. However, instead of saying what you said, how about this instead? You slide that 0 over and you say, okay, that is what you are going to get. Now, it's your choice. That is what you are going to get in terms of centrifuges or U.S. dollars. And we'll start there. Because ultimately, you're going to end up with 0 of both if you don't choose wisely. Because if you choose centrifuges, okay, we'll stop our U.S. dollars. And then if you keep building centrifuges, we're going to blow them up until you have this number.
Right.
Or you can just take care of this now and we'll continue to give you money. But we are going to put sanctions back on for making us go through this. And you're going to have to reimburse us for all this travel.
Oh, and
I want a cheeseburger.
And I want a cheeseburger. Extra.
Pork.
Extra bacon cheeseburger.
I want bacon.
I heard somebody say, and I don't know which left liberal loon it was on TV, but, one of the things, too, that they're, as a result, if they get no nukes, they don't get medical isotopes and they can't treat certain diseases.
So?
Oh, they could, actually.
Yeah, but on a bigger note, I don't care.
No, but what I'm saying is the point that we're missing as a nation, Iran could have all of this if they just stop trying to blow up everybody.
Right.
Look at Yemen right now, the Houthi, Iranian-backed, Hezbollah, Iranian-backed, Hamas.
But let's be real. Do you care if they have a radioactive isotope to treat some disease?
No.
I don't care. They keep wanting to blow everybody else up.
Right.
You know what? Focus your attentions on more productive things, like medical research, and okay. But until that point, I don't care if you don't have money to feed your population. I don't care if you don't have money. I want to stop giving you taxpayer money. I don't want to send any more aid to you.
Right.
I don't want to talk to you about negotiations.
You know what? All the money we've given you.
You know what I think the U.S. should be? The U.S. should be that big guy in the corner, right? The guy in the corner, with the old fashioned in his hand,
Knuckles. We'll call him Knuckles for short.
Just sitting there staring at Iran
and breathing heavy,
and not saying a word, not giving any money, not negotiating, not saying a word, and then quietly and calmly pull the Colt 1911 45 out, put it on the table, and take another sip of your whiskey. That should be the U.S., right?
Right.
And then Israel, another quiet guy could come in, walk in, sit right next to the first big quiet guy.
Shake their hands. So
shake hands.
Kind of knows.
Order an old-fashioned. Put their Colt 45 on the table.
Uzi.
Slam it down. Uzi.
Give him an Uzi.
Like, give a quick little head nod and just not say a word and keep looking. That's what we should be like.
No, I agree.
Because we're flapping our gums way too much.
Way too much. And on top of pulling their aid, the amount of money that we're giving them, let's give it to Israel for a few years. Just for fun.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
Literally, while they're at the table drinking their whiskey, the big American guy pulls out a suitcase full of money and just slides it over and high fives him, and the Israeli can put it down next to him, say thank you, because that's actually our true friend. That's the one we worry about. That's the one who's future.
And then just for good measure, like the big guy, the big American guy or Israel guy. Let's go the Israel guy. Just walks up, calmly walks over to our and just punches him in the face, and then doesn't say a word. Just comes back down and then sits down and continues drinking.
Well,
like that, right? Because sometimes, right, some people just have that face you just want to hit, and I feel like Iran kind of has that face.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
I can go with that.
Right, just that D-bag you see walk into a store and you're like, man, I don't know what it is, but that guy just has the face of somebody I just want to hit. Not that I'm a violent person, but you know what I'm talking about? Just that person that rubs you the wrong way.
Dude, I don't know how to tell you this, but I want to punch you in the face right now.
You always want to do that, and it's because I'm a complete smartass, right?
But the problem is we're again.
The problem is
yeah. The problem is we're negotiating a country that has done nothing to deserve any sort of benefit. They've done nothing to get ahead. They've done listen, if the Ayatollah gave up power a couple years ago, and there was actually a democratically elected government, and they stopped getting into other people's affairs and stopped supporting terrorism all over the world, including in Yemen, if they actually started like saying, hey, you know what, we're a different country now. We got rid of them. We're not killing people that don't agree with us. We're not going to kill Israel. We're going to take a page out of Egypt's book.
As a matter of fact, now we're killing people that agree with us just to show that we're different.
Right. We've gone full 180.
Right.
You know, that sort of thing. Then, yeah. But they have done none of that. And then there was an admiral who released an article today, and it was James, I want to say it was James Lyon, was the admiral's name, recently retired within the last 2 years, who said and makes allegations that then Senator Obama, when he was running for office in 2008, had personal contact with the mullahs in Iran, saying that I am a friend of Iran and we will work together. Kind of a big allegation to make from a former admiral.
Right.
And on top of it, funny part is wasn't it, 3 weeks ago we were talking about how everyone was mad at the Senate for writing a letter to Iran because they were representing the government? We talked about that law and the violation, et cetera, et cetera.
And it wasn't, right.
But then we found out, or alleged today, or a couple days ago, that not only did then Senator Obama discuss this with the mullahs of Iran, the leaders of Iran, the Ayatollah and whatnot, but then had begun behind-the-scenes work, back channels conversations with them, almost immediately upon getting into office to bring us to the point today. And is essentially making allegations that this whole negotiation thing is a scam. The deadline keeps getting put off, so it seems like they're actually getting stuff done, or they're actually trying to fight back on some things and stand tall. In reality, a lot of the details have been worked out. That's a big allegation to make from somebody who was in the inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know if there's any truth to it. But if there is, first of all, there's a couple different things that are seriously wrong with that. And one commentator said, well, I'd have to check with lawyers, but that may be an impeachable offense based on the fact that he's cutting a deal, sidestepping Congress, which we've talked about before, and then it's an act of criminality.
You know when you're off base as an administration, as a left-wing administration? When Howard Dean, right? When Howard Dean says, "Yeah, it might be time to step away from the table," and he says that on MSNBC. When that wingnut says something like that,
when Saul Alinsky tells you to stop negotiating,
right?
When you get a call from Frances Fox Piven and she's like, "Hey, this might have went too far."
Right. When France, Russia, and China walk away.
Yes.
Right? And you're like,
one of those guys now. Anyhow, we're here for you, Ayatollah. Why? You know, I was talking...
Why Ayatollah?
Why Ayatollah?
I don't know.
That's what we should call Secretary of State Kerry now. The Wyatt-Tolla. Wyatt-Tolla, are you doing this?
Right.
Wyatt-Tolla, we still at a negotiating table.
Sound like out of a Mel Brooks movie.
Takamata.
Yes, that's exactly
Let's
what I was
face it,
thinking
folks,
about.
you can't talk him out of anything. Don't even try to despair. But
I need to watch that.
History of the World.
Right now, I know.
You know, one of the things that was funny to me, and how much of this, along with the ISIS movement and everything like that, but even with the Iranian deal, comes down to political correctness as well. People are getting hammered for the things that they're saying about Iran. You have left-wingers trying to blow up everyone who has something negative to say
Like
about
Iran. They have something in common with Iran.
Right, exactly. And meanwhile, you go back 25 years, and Ronald Reagan, one of the things that he did to keep people engaged in the fight against communism and changing a nation's ways from something that is nefarious and evil to eventually the wall coming down.
Yes, he crushed them economically.
Right, but one of the things he did for the American people is he regularly told jokes about communist Russia and the Russians and communism.
Yes.
Amazing jokes, by the way.
Yes.
One of my favorite ones is the car being driven by Gorbachev. Did you ever hear that one?
Long time ago.
Two motorcycle cops who told no matter what happens, everyone gets a ticket all the time. And they're running late one morning, and Gorbachev says, "Hey, I'll drive." Told his driver to get in the back so they could speed. Two motorcycle cops stop him, and one says to the other, "Remember, no brakes for anyone." He walks up, rolls down the window. He sees the driver is Gorbachev, tells him to have a nice day, gets back on the bike, and his partner says to him, "Hey, why didn't you write that guy a ticket?" He goes, "Oh, no. He was too popular, or too important." He goes, "Too important? Who was he?" He goes, "I don't know who in the back, but he had Gorbachev as a driver." But that was something we used to, as a nation, joke about countries like Iran as a way to remind us, in a good way, how awful and terrible they are. And now, we won't even talk ill of them. You know, the administration downplays every bad thing they do. Look at Yemen, which is amazing because considering that was supposed to be the what was it, the showboat or whatever it was, the talking point for how to destroy terrorism in the Middle East, fell. And part of the reason Yemen fell as a nation is because the Houthi tribe, who was supported by the Iranians, caused the nation to drop. By the way, $500 billion in military equipment that we supplied to Yemen, now in the hands of the Houthis and Iranians.
Yeah.
They will show up in ISIS, it will show up in Hezbollah, and it will show up in Hamas.
So what do you think would happen if President Obama started telling Iranian jokes? Or Ayatollah jokes? Right? Right? Like, Ronald Reagan told the joke, the story about the two fellows in the Soviet Union who were walking down the street, and one of them says, "Have we really achieved full communism? Is this it? Is this now full communism?"
Yes.
The other one said, "Oh no, things are going to get a lot worse."
Right? A lot worse.
Right? Could you imagine, like, or ISIS? If you talk about ISIS, right?
Yes.
Two people walking down ISIS and says, "Have we really achieved a full caliphate? Is this it?
Is this full
Is
Sharia
this now
law?
full Sharia law?" And the
Oh,
one
hell
says, "Oh
no.
no, things are going to get a lot worse." Right? You could do it. You could do it.
You know, well,
that was a good one.
That was an awesome one. I don't know how you'd relate this to ISIS, but you had another great joke about ordering cars.
Yes, there's a 10-year delay in the Soviet Union for delivery of an automobile, right? And it's like 1 in 7 families own an automobile. There's a 10-year wait. And
You have to put up all the money up front.
Right. This man laid down the money, and the fellow in charge said to him, "Come back in 10 years and get your car." The man answered, "Morning or afternoon." The fellow behind the counter says, 10 years from now, what difference does it make? The guy said, "Well, the plumber's coming in the morning."
Oh, there's another good one about the commissar visiting a farm.
Yeah,
We're going to wrap this one. We're going to just go to this at the end because he has some great ones. But the commissar shows up at a farm and he says, "Hey," he grabs the first farmer. He says, "Hey, how are the fields?" And the farmer says, "Fertile as ever, comrade." He goes, "Well, how are the potatoes?" He goes, "Comrade, commissar, if we piled up all the potatoes in one giant pile, they'd reach the foot of God." The commissar says, "This is the Soviet Union. There is no God." And the farmer says, "That's okay. There are no potatoes." He was brilliant.
What about the one, the American and the Russian? They're arguing. And one said, "In my country, I go to the White House, walk to the president's office, pound on the desk and say, 'Mr. President, I don't like how you're running things in this country.' And the Russian said, 'I can do that too.' The American says, 'Really?' He says, 'Yes, I can go to the Kremlin, walk into the General Secretary's office, pound on the desk and say, 'Mr. Secretary, I don't like how Reagan's running this country.'"
He actually told that joke to Gorbachev, who laughed at it. He tells that story. I was watching a documentary on him. He told that joke to Gorbachev, and Gorbachev laughed at it.
Of course.
That is so amazing to me. He actually, and he went after everyone. He went after Cuba with Castro.
Right.
There's a whole one about peanuts, popcorn, Cracker Jacks while Castro was giving a speech. And after the fourth time, Castro finally said, "Hey, the next time he sees that, I'm going to kick him all the way to Miami." And the entire crowd said, "Peanuts, popcorn, Cracker Jacks." I'll tell you, you want to talk about an amazing human being?
What about he told the Frenchman, the Brit, and the Russian? They were looking at a picture of Adam and Eve or whatever, and they were arguing about the nationality. And the Brit says Adam and Eve were British. They were wearing fig leaves and blush, so they must be modest. And the Frenchman says, no, they were French because they were naked and in love. And the Russian says, no, they're obviously Russian because they're naked, have only an apple to eat between them, and they're told they're in the paradise.
Oh, we're up against a break.
How did we evolve into Reagan communist jokes?
Why
but
not?
But it was awesome,
How
right?
can
Why
you not? Well,
Why
you had the amazing ISIS joke that came out of a Reagan joke, and then once you start talking about Reagan, it's kind of hard to stop.
It is.
Real quick, Egg said there was a story out of the Soviet Union about a factory that was supposed to produce 50 tons of screws. Supposedly, the workers got so frustrated they produced one 50-ton screw. That would not shock me.
That reminds me of a night of drinking.
Wait, what?
So we're up against the break. When we come back, we have China and their great wall of sand.
Can't make this stuff up, folks. We'll be back in 3 here on the Sackheads Radio Show.
I'm Jason.
I know we'll put up sand.
Join us Thursday, April the 2nd, for the UK Prime Minister's debates at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific, right here on SHR Media, where the 7 parties will debate who will be the next Prime Minister. Our coverage starts at 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific, right here on SHR Media and Pundit Press Radio. We hope you tune in.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying coffee is stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint,
all good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on The Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border with coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to The Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
We're making it all the way through the night with us.
Not quite yet.
Well,
not quite yet. No, don't applaud him for that. That was ridiculous. He was trying to shortchange you.
You didn't have to stop it, Sacco. I was feeling good about myself. Thank you. So, have you heard this story?
Of course I did.
Actually,
I did. I prepped it.
I was talking to the listeners.
Oh.
It's not a bad background song, Sacco, if you can turn it real, real low. Because China's communist and the song fits well. So the U.S. is accusing Beijing of unprecedented land reclamation, claiming China is creating a giant wall of sand. Great wall of sand, actually. They have over a 4 square kilometer, I don't know what that turns into miles, but I think it's like 1.5, or 400. I was never really good at that conversion. In the disputed area of the South China Sea, and it's really starting to raise concerns about China's territorial intentions in the area. And you have to understand there are parts of that with islands and even some of the sea itself that they're currently in dispute with the Philippines, Brunei, Malaysia, Taiwan, Vietnam, etc., etc. It's already been a point of contention with China flying patrols in it. We talked about that on this show a couple months ago. Japan has a stake in that area as well. They're saying that they're dumping and pumping a bunch of sand onto live coral reefs, which are submerged, most of them, and paving over them with concrete. That's scary. It's scary for a couple different reasons. One, it's
Why? They need land masses down there so that they can build more bases and stuff.
Exactly.
What's the problem with that? It's in disputed waters, well, they're just making it undisputed.
It's no longer disputed.
Right?
It's ours.
It's ours now.
I wonder if they stuck a flag in it. They just say, no, it's China.
That's our materials. We built that. That is our raw materials. That's our dollars.
It's like squatters in California.
And you can't get rid of them.
Right. There's no real legal recourse to get rid of them. Once they're there, they're there.
And they're a pain in the rear to get rid of.
Yes, China is officially squatting in the South China Sea.
And that creates a couple different images.
Wow, let's not go there. But
right, because who would want to go there?
But what this does is, well, if you have to go, doesn't matter where you are.
You went there.
Hangover.
I wouldn't go there, but they might.
They might. I'm not them. Listen, this is already a serious point of contention in the region. This is one of those things, and everyone who I hear a lot of people give China credit as of late about how they have a really good economy and they're this new style of communism, and they're treating their people better, et cetera, et cetera. But much like Russia, and Putin's been very, very open and honest about that, China has been ramping up their military a lot. They just launched an aircraft carrier. They've been testing, I think it's their J-20 jet, which can land and take off and have capability.
Really, their jet can land and take off? That's an improvement for them, I think.
Right?
I think before they just
on
had
the
to,
aircraft carrier.
Oh,
yeah. They've also have allegedly one of the best anti-ship missiles out there. That can actually
pop quiz.
Yes.
Do you remember the name of the anti-ship missile that the skipper in Top Gun was worried the Soviets had?
No.
Didn't he say those jets are equipped with the Exocet anti-ship missile?
Wow, that's pretty good.
They can launch that from, remember?
Yes, and I just watched Top Gun not too long ago.
One of the greatest movies.
It was awesome.
Top 5.
Yeah.
Right?
6 maybe. I'm trying to go down
Ish.
the list. It depends on what character. I mean, overall, but
right.
It doesn't matter. By the way, funny thing about Top Gun, none of the jets that the Russians were flying were actually MiGs.
No, they were F-5s or F-20s.
Yeah. But it's just funny that they called it, I think it was a MiG-27, which didn't exist, and they were painted all black with the Soviet
with the red
star.
but it had a circle around it.
Yep, and even the pilots had the star like on their respiratory
that's because
system.
I think at the time Top Gun flyers did in fact use those aircraft in order to simulate the flight characteristics of the MiG. Now they use F-16s.
Right, but yeah, no, at the time it's just kind of funny to me. But getting back to what we were talking about in the South China Sea,
it has a problem with its inverted flight tanks. Sorry, Goose.
It's too bad Tom Cruise is a lunatic because it would make that movie even better these days. But I think the fact
I still think if they made a 2, they should start it out with him flying a cargo plane full of rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome.
Right?
That would be pretty good. And they could have Goose. Oh, right.
They could do a prequel.
They could do a prequel. No. But it starts to really ramp up their military ability. And they've built a lot of planes lately. They have a lot of munitions stored up. They have the aircraft carrier. I think they're starting to get to the point where they're going to start pushing around militarily. This is a big step because, like you said, they're paving it over with concrete. They can start putting bases there. They can start putting lookout posts there. They can, 4 kilometers, about 1.5 miles squared is what it turns out to be. You could start putting anti-tank equipment there. You could put jump jets if they had the ability. I don't know if they have a jump jet in their system. You can start putting patrol aircraft and helicopter, anti-submarine equipment, anti-ship equipment, artillery. There's a bunch of things you can use. And China's been quiet for too long, and I know that's kind of a boogeyman mentality that eventually it's going to come out from under the bed. But I think China knows that they kind of own our economy, so whether we should or whether we can legally or technically or not, they know they kind of have us a little bit. They see Russia getting away with how it's acting, and the international community is doing nothing to stop them at all. They see that we're about to throw nukes to Iran. They see that not much is happening with North Korea. I think they're starting to get just a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Hey, we're not getting the attention we deserve. We have an aircraft carrier. We're actually in the game again.
How many do we have?
Like 13 or 14.
How many in mothballs?
Like
how
20?
many? We have so many. We just sink them as artificial reefs now in the Gulf of Mexico.
We have so many.
Right?
We just keep them hanging out together doing nothing.
Right.
We're like, well, we could use those for no, just put them over there. No, that's fine. But
who's getting uppity?
Who's getting uppity? I'm telling you, one of those we're going to buy someday. But you have China, who is just really ratcheting up right now in the South China Sea. And this is a story that hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but has been around for a while and has been building more and more. And I'll tell you what, it's going to take just one wrong incursion or a perceived incursion by China from one of the other countries, including us, before that could get out of hand. And again, it comes back to me.
Well, the problem is China is the biggest kid on the block in the area. In this
Yes.
disputed sea zone, you have Vietnam, Taiwan, the Philippines, that are all, and I think what Japan even has some dispute with some territories, some water territories with China. China's the biggest kid in that whole region. All those countries could band together and I think come up with like a fishing trawler and a Cessna.
Fishing. Another movie to throw on the best list was Red Dawn, and I agree with that. A fishing
Original Red Dawn.
The original, right, not the remake. You know what? Ag got... Oh, and I'm sorry, I wasn't reading the chat. He got the missile type.
He did.
That's pretty awesome. I'm impressed. You guys are just so smart. It's gross sometimes.
Random useless knowledge.
I love every second of it. And again, they know that we are not pushing back against countries who are acting rogue. I mean, look at Iran right now. We're at the negotiating table for nukes.
And everybody else kind of walked away.
Right.
Including Russia and China.
You would have a completely out of control Middle East if Iran gets nukes. And China's one of the ones that...
They would use them.
Yes, they would use them. There's no doubt they would use them.
Against Israel.
And then you have China ramping things up. And
if they use them, would the Obama administration be indirectly responsible? I would argue they would.
Yeah, I would argue they would too. But I would argue that they were kind of,
complicit.
Kind of complicit.
We only have 15 minutes left, and I do want to touch on this. I want to talk about Lois Lerner.
Oh.
The Justice Department said that they are not going to pursue contempt of Congress charges.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the Justice Department is not going to go after Lois Lerner for contempt of Congress.
Let's see, that's weird. She was held in contempt by the entire... And
Boner got a letter saying that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's on the down low. Well, listen, we know that contempt of Congress is not upheld by the Justice Department on a regular basis, right?
Not this Justice Department, right?
And Lois Lerner kind of took one for the team on the left, if you will, with all of this. So they kind of owed her a solid.
And what's funny is there were 6 Democrats that actually voted with the Republicans back in May of last year.
Yeah, they were traitors.
To hold her in contempt.
Those were traitors in the eyes of the left, and they will be held for their actions. Explain to me how you can target a group because of their political affiliation.
They said she did not waive her Fifth Amendment rights.
Yep.
And therefore they were not going to pursue contempt charges.
And she's able to maintain her pension.
Right.
And
because she hasn't been tried or convicted.
And after everything came out, and the emails are out there. And they're still, it's not even like, hey, we're going to hold off because until
What's in those emails?
Until those emails get sorted and all that stuff, we're not going to jump to a decision. It's not like this is Ferguson. We're not jumping in with both feet on this one. We're going to take our time and do an actual investigation.
The House can still appoint a special counsel.
And they need to, immediately.
They absolutely need to.
Absolutely need to, immediately, if not sooner. You
What
look
would
at
be
how
sooner
many...
than immediately?
5 minutes ago.
Yesterday.
Anything over a second ago.
Right.
Like right now, it's immediately... Now.
Too
And
late.
Now?
Too late. You're delayed.
Oh,
Too late.
Man, I'm just not that good anymore. If I go back in time.
It's another good movie.
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future is a great series, too. It's such a good movie.
How do we get off on these movie tangents?
I don't know. It's just in our blood.
What do you think about Obama's kind of tossed out mandatory voting?
Well, and
if you're gonna mandate that people exercise that right,
they should exercise all rights.
Right, then you have to mandate the Second Amendment.
Think about what that says to atheists. And I thought about this when
you
this
have
first
to exercise religion.
freedom of religion. You have to choose a religion and be a part of it. Can you imagine that? Imagine how they would go insane.
Right.
Second Amendment. Hey, everyone, go. Annie, go get your gun. Annie and Susie and Frank and Steve and you
have to
hippie, you
exercise
hippie in the corner. All you guys go out there and get your guns. Oh well, I don't believe in guns. Doesn't matter. Mandatory right exercising. It's now law. We have a precedence.
Right.
He was quick to walk that back.
You can no longer waive your right to remain silent. You have to remain silent. It's mandatory.
Yeah, but I didn't do anything, and I can prove it. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. You have to remain silent. Don't say anything. But I want to explain what happened. Nope.
Hey, listen, I know we're in a really, really bad war, and I was going to let the soldiers stay in my house because it's just raining outside.
We can't quarter them.
Sorry, you can't quarter them. It's your right. No, I know, but I want to let them in. Like, things went really bad in South, and these poor guys been out for days, and I just want to bring them in, give them warm food. Okay. Yeah, so, Your Honor, that's when I saw my wife pick up the gun and shoot her best friend. Ooh, yeah, you can't testify against her. What do you mean? You can't compel me to, but if I choose to, no. No, not anymore, pal. Doesn't matter what you saw. You shut your big dumb mouth. Your wife's not a murderer, and you know it. Oh, and by the way, you can't get divorced either. Wait, what? Well, you signed this agreement, a marriage license. So I got to live with an unconvicted murderer? Have fun. You picked her. I mean, just think about what a ridiculous precedence. And you know what that means?
What a ridiculous president.
Yes.
Yes.
And there are some states that are throwing out there, and I actually had an Inyo County recorder on my show on
now
the
you're
Edge of
bragging.
Liberty. And her name is Cammie Foote. And she
awesome person.
Great person. And she was talking about how Philadelphia and Pennsylvania is trying to pass a law that mandatory voter registration. I think they're talking about some other states as well. And even that bothers me.
Yeah.
Because what happens is these kids turn 18, and maybe some of them just don't want to get involved in politics. And as much as I don't agree with it, that's their right.
I would look at if,
and now
if
you're
if you don't
them,
understand the issues, you're not interested in the issues, and you don't want to vote or participate because you don't want to make a decision one way or another because maybe you know you're uninformed and you just don't feel comfortable doing that because maybe you understand the seriousness of your vote,
right?
But you choose not to exercise it for whatever reason,
right?
That's your right, also.
Yes,
you can waive that,
right? You don't have to. But it's so funny how these mandatory voting laws are starting to pop up right around the time that Obama said, "I think we should do mandatory voting." Well, if we do mandatory or automatic, as they like to call it, it's not mandatory, it's automatic voter registration. Then you do mandatory voting, and when it's automatic registration, in some states you have to declare your party, and to vote outside that party you have to do a whole bunch of things. So now you're 18, I don't know, D comes before R. Click. Now you're mandatory voting. Everyone must vote. Oh, well, I guess I'm going to pick D because that's just what I picked when I was 17 and a half, about to be 18, and they stuck this form in my face and said, you have to choose one. And now how do I go back about changing that? Ooh, yeah, there's a 4-year backlog on that. 4.5. After the next election, you'll be able to choose. Just think about the precedent it sets and what it does. It's a power grab. It really is, and it's a frightening power grab, in my opinion. And you're forcing kids, like you said, who may not be at all involved to make
Or
a decision.
want to be involved. Which
And-
they should want to be involved, but you can't force involvement.
Well, and like you said, and Ag said in the chat room, just because we don't agree with it doesn't mean that it's not. Just like it's our right to vote, they have that choice to make. They don't have to vote.
Exactly.
I think they should be involved. I think they should want to vote and be educated.
But
about
that's our
who-
opinion.
Right. That's all that
If
is.
that's
Is
not
an opinion.
interested for
Be-
them.
and-
They have the freedom, the liberty
to not
be
just as much as they do to be involved. And the only reason I want to see them do it is because I want more young people to be involved in this country and where it's going and how it's going, and understand. But reality is what it is, and I don't want to force them.
So now, switching topics again, do you think that in light of what happened with the Germanwings co-pilot, that there's going to be some changes in
Yes.
European aviation?
Yes, and we've even seen this over here. And Dr. Randy Arrington and I talked about this.
Yeah.
Professional pilot his whole life. We talked about this here. Here, the pilots' union will not allow it, but eventually, they'll fight it. But they go through a psych exam prior to hiring, and then they don't go through another one ever.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen a couple incidents. The JetBlue one, I think it was in St. Louis, where the pilot had a meltdown mid-flight and had to be restrained and all this other stuff.
He's suing JetBlue now for allowing him to fly.
Well, yeah, it's their fault. And you need to understand that when you have, and look at bus drivers and stuff like that, they don't have the psychological exam, but they go back for the health exam. I think it's like every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have diabetes or something like that, they're not allowed to drive. They lose everything.
Commercial driver's license.
Yeah.
Right.
So why are pilots not being, especially after we've seen this before, the Egypt air crash off in Nantucket a couple years ago. You had a suicidal pilot, put it into the ground, waited, almost the exact same thing, waited for the co-pilot to leave, locked the door behind him, put it into the ocean, killed everyone on board. We saw a plane take over with a disgruntled former employee at U.S. Air at the PSA out of Southern California, where he shot 5 people and then put the plane into the ground. It's scary to me to think that these people are not getting regular psychological evals when they're bringing these giant missiles full of people up into the air. And I know it sounds horrible to say, but that's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
And it needs to be addressed. And the other thing, too, is, and I said, it's scary to think that after 9/11 we put these doors in to protect the flight.
Mm-hmm.
And it cost these people their lives. Because they're now saying in the tape you could hear them trying to slam what was most likely a food and beverage cart onto the door to try to get it to open. It wouldn't open. The one difference is in Europe, unlike American flagged aircraft carriers, airplanes, American airplanes, there has to be two at all times.
Yep,
and
so even if one gets up to leave, a
flight attendant,
has
somebody
to come
else
up.
goes in.
Yep.
In Europe, that's not required, and it's not regular practice. So I think you're going to see that change. I think you're going to start seeing regular psych evals come out. That's going to end up costing us in the end, the consumer. But
I'll pay a little extra for my ticket.
I'll pay it. I have no problem with it. And listen, just because people are getting psych evals doesn't mean it's a sure thing. We know that. I'm still a big believer. It says about probably 65% of psychology is probably just innuendo and suggestion versus reality. But anyone can snap at any moment. But
what are you saying?
Nothing. Why?
But
that
sounded creepy.
But the simple fact of the matter is you need to have more checkups on this because, and now they're saying there may be a video of the crash. And news outlets are reporting it, and the French prosecutors, I guess, are going crazy, which tells you that the video is probably out there. So, listen, this was a horrible tragedy. They're saying that, he was told not to fly. He was treated for depression and suicidal tendencies in the past. He was having a vision problem that was created by, his doctor said, psychosomatic illness. I only saw one report, and I'm shocked it didn't get more legs than it did, but I saw one report that alleged he may have recently converted. And that was out of a German newspaper, and it came up and went down real quick. But it was out there. And it's going to be interesting to see if that ever grabs legs again. I don't think that was the case. I really think that this guy was just suicidal. and he was a nut, and he was a lunatic.
But why take that many people with you? Why take anybody else with you?
Right. And somebody I was reading, or I think it was Facebook, somebody said, yeah, it'd be more difficult, but he could walk into an airport in full uniform, walk into an empty plane, and possibly be able to take off with it before anyone could stop him, and then do it himself. If it was that symbolism thing of I have to go while I'm flying because that's my one love type.
You know
thing.
what? Go rent a Cessna.
Right.
Go rent a little single engine thing and go fly it.
Right. He was a light. He started off with the light aircraft. Just go to your buddies that you were learning to fly on and do something like that. But don't
take innocent people with you.
And children. I mean, there was like 16 teenagers on a school trip. There were infants on the planes. It's just heart-wrenching and horrible. And we talk all the time in this country about how mental illness needs to be addressed when it comes to firearms, and that there's a general absolute need for it. And it's everywhere, though. Mental illness really penetrates a lot of things.
My friend, we have less than 1 minute left.
We do.
In closing,
thank you guys.
Baseball season officially is going to start before our next show.
Booyah. I will be in here with my face painted red. Well, it's not going to be painted. It's just always red anyhow. But hey,
right.
Go Red Sox.
Go Oakland.
We'll see you in October.
You might see us in October.
We might see you in October. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun.
We will be back next Wednesday night here at shrmedia.com at 8 p.m. in the West, 11 in the East. Make sure you check out the Exceptional Conservative Show, the Evan Miller Report, everyone else here on SHR. You catch me tomorrow at noon on the East, 9 in the West on the Edge of Liberty on WNJC 1360 AM. Have a great week.
You too, my friend.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
Into the silo.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.